Hello, wonderful souls. Welcome to Guided Space Podcast. My name is Jessica, and I'm a twin flame and spiritual coach. My mission is to create a space to guide you from within. Whether you're seeking guidance on navigating the intricate dance of relationships, uncovering your life's purpose, or simply desiring a deeper understanding of the world around you, this podcast is your compass. Join me in this sacred space as we embark on a journey that will challenge your perspectives while expanding your consciousness, growth, self-discovery, and transformation. Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you're all doing well as you're listening to this. Before I get into today's topic, I just want to thank all of you who have reached out to me and gave me feedback on my last episode. My heart has been so full with the amount of love I've received. You guys have no idea. So many of you have said that you feel validated and understood on this journey because, as we all know, this journey is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, especially when you or your counterpart are involved with someone else. It's very hard to navigate, which is why I created this podcast. And I'm so happy I can help you because I know that that is my purpose and mission in this lifetime. I want to help as many of you as I possibly can. So thank you so much for responding to my Spotify podcast in the poll or the Q&A and for sending me private messages. I really, really appreciate that. I also want to say I'm almost done with the workshop and I'm hoping to have it done by the end of August. There's been a lot on my plate, but I'm hoping to wrap things up. So please be on the lookout for the workshop on how to navigate the twin flame journey. I'll be posting it on the description of my podcast, my episodes, and in the links on my social media platforms as soon as it's done. All right, let's get to today's topic. So many people get confused between karmics, twin flames, and soulmates, which is why on today's episode, I'm going to go in depth about the differences between the three. Spirit guides don't really like labels, but this is just how I can explain it for you to understand on a human level. For so long, we've all heard about the term soulmates. We all thought that a soulmate would be like finding the one, quote unquote. But little did most of us know we can actually have many soulmates. Soulmates are those we have a deep connection with or a sense of familiarity with. When we find that special connection with someone, we tend to call them part of our soul family or that we have a soul bond with them. But these soulmates are usually platonic. They can be romantic, but I've noticed most of them are platonic or end up being platonic because they don't have enough romance or spark to last a lifetime. But the love is strong regardless. With soulmates, it's like you have a knowing that you've met this person before in a lifetime and you instantly click with them, which is why we can experience this with multiple people that we meet. For example, I have several friends that I feel are soulmates because upon meeting them, it was just instant recognition and we started talking comfortably with one another right away. We can talk for hours and hours. And if we go a long time without talking, especially like my friends and I, because we live so far apart, it's as if no time has passed. And that's how it is with soulmates. However, that sense of familiarity also happens with twin flames. But with soulmates, there usually isn't a fiery spark. I know for me, when I met my husband, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. Hey, how have you been? It's been a long time. Because we reconnected after several years of not talking. But I felt that on a friend level. We were friends many years before we started dating. I didn't have any sexual spark or romance spark at all in the beginning. I didn't have that sinking heart feeling like I did with my twin flame after not seeing my twin for so many years. The love for my soulmate, my spouse, just grew over time. A soulmate connection is also usually very peaceful and harmonious. It's not there to make you grow from so many traumas or life lessons. Yes, you can grow and learn lessons with them, of course, but they're the type of relationship that you last a very long time with, which is why I said in my previous episode, it's like you have the whole white picket fence and home with them. You marry them and usually have kids with them because it's easier to have kids with a soulmate since it's not as intense as it is with a twin twin flame. With a twin flame, there's usually too much running and chasing and back and forth in the beginning for them to be able to have kids because it's so intense. Not that you can't later down the road, it just usually takes a much longer time to get there. So that's a soulmate. Very easy, peaceful, comfortable, safe, long lasting. It sounds amazing. I know, most people are like, oh, I'd rather want a soulmate. It's easier than a twin flame. But it doesn't really have much spark. It's like a good to have, but not a need to have. Now we're going to go into karmics. I'm going to go more in depth about karmics and twin flames because these are the two that a lot of people confuse. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to help you understand because I'm noticing a lot of people who think they're on the twin flame journey, they're actually with a karmic. Okay, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'd rather you understand this now than to keep going on this path of self destruction with somebody who's not even your divine counterpart. Okay. So I hope that what I'm about to say will help you and won't trigger you to where you get upset or angry. And if it does trigger you, I hope you sit with it and you reflect on what I say and see why it triggers you. Okay. So, with karmics, as we all know, karmics are usually the toxic relationship or the relationship that is there to learn big lessons from because they trigger the heck out of you. Karmics are not necessarily romantic partners all the time. They can also be work colleagues or friends. It's essentially a relationship that is there to help you grow and learn a specific lesson from. This is why some people come in and out of your life. So if they come in your life, it's for a reason. You learn the lesson and they go out and you're kind of like, wait, why are they not in my life anymore? Because they were just there to teach you a lesson. Okay. Usually, with a karmic, it's there to help you learn self love or set boundaries, learn your power, etc. And this is where it gets confusing because in a twin flame dynamic, your divine counterpart also makes you learn that or makes you realize that you need to have self love. But with a twin flame, you have the spiritual awakening and you go through dark night of the soul. But this is also where it gets tricky again because with a karmic, you can also go through something that feels like a dark night of the soul, or at least a lot of people will think that it's a dark night of the soul, but really it's just a really bad breakup or a dark episode or a depression. Because with a karmic, you can lose weight, you can get depressed, you can feel like you're going crazy, you can have obsessive thoughts. However, a karmic does not lead you to a deep spiritual awakening. And most importantly, a karmic does not lead you to have the urge or desire to become the best version of yourself like a twin flame does. Now, I'm going to give you a couple examples. So, again, these examples, they're always going to be my own personal. So, I have to be open and vulnerable here. So there was a karmic that I dated on and off for 2 years. And just to preface, he was not toxic, not a bad guy at all. Okay. So he was not the narcissist type that many people think that their twin flames or the karmics are. No, I was never into the bad boys type. But together, we were toxic. We were very similar in a lot of ways, but also different. We would mirror each other like twin flames do. We were very playful like most twin flames are because twin flames feel like young, playful souls, but we also met when we were young. I was like 22, 23. We always had a great time, but we would trigger each other like crazy. Well, usually he would trigger me. I would get very jealous. And yet I thought he was the one. And just like a twin flame, I would also have dreams about him. But my dreams about him were different. Yes, they were kind of vivid because I've always been one to dream. I've always been a dreamer. But my dreams about him were usually never positive, and nor were they cosmic or spiritual like the dreams that I have with my twin flame. With my twin, I've had dreams about his grandfather being there in spirit as a light being. And I've had dreams where I could literally feel my twin's energy or feel his skin, and I'm touching him and it feels like I'm really touching him. Like I'll wake up and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I touched his skin, or I felt his lips." I felt like I just touched him. I've never had that with my karmic ex or anyone else for that matter. With my karmic, the dreams were usually quite negative. It was usually me wanting him to love me back and then him finally admitting he loved me. But that was clearly my subconscious wanting him to say that because I could tell the energy was off and we were never on the same page like I am in my dreams with my twin. When it comes to my dreams with my twin, we're usually on the same frequency, and he shows me love without me asking for it. Here's another thing. I thought my karmic was the one. I really did. I felt that there was not going to be a single other man that would replace him. And it took me a very long time to get over him. Plus, the intimacy was very good, and they say twin flame sex is the best. So you think that could be my twin flame? Because we had a lot of obstacles, we had a lot of struggles. However, I wouldn't say it was cosmic like sex. I didn't feel the fireworks, it was just good. But I never felt that sexual energy where I could feel him telepathically, but I also wasn't spiritually evolved at that time either. So I don't know. And also, just a side note, when you become more spiritually tapped in, you can feel soulmates and karmics telepathically. And you can, so you can have that telepathic communication with karmics and soulmates, okay? You can feel other people's sexual pull towards you, not just your twin flame. So you have to be careful with this. It's never as strong as your twin flame's energy, but it can happen. This is why you have to always ask Archangel Michael or God for protection. If you feel a sexual pull in your private area, ask that it be removed if it's not from your twin flame or your twin flame's higher self, or if it's not yours. Because this has happened to me where like I'm feeling intense energy down there. And I'm wondering, like, is this my twin? Is it not? And I've had it happen to where it wasn't his, but I noticed that there's a difference. There's always a difference. When it is my twin flame, I will literally feel tingles and heat throughout my entire body and not just in that area, not in the private area. Anyway, so, as I was saying, my karmic didn't trigger my awakening at all. I went to therapy because of him, because, I was so tired of feeling obsessed over this man, but I didn't seek spiritual help because of him. I did seek psychics, and a couple would say he was the one, but he definitely was not. I never evolved with him, nor had the urge to get better. Like I wanted to, but I wasn't making any effort. I wasn't making any progress. I was just obsessed with him or the idea of him, and I wanted him, but didn't really try to better myself in a spiritual way. I also want to point out that there was another karmic that I had that after we parted ways, I went into deep need for healing. But it wasn't because of him. It was more so like I didn't know what I was doing with my life. We were not doing things the proper way. And it was kind of a dark period in my life. But I wouldn't say that that was considered a typical dark night of the soul caused by a twin flame at all. So please be careful. I'm bringing these examples up because I want you to be careful when deciphering a genuine dark night of the soul due to a twin flame versus a general awakening. Because we can have multiple dark nights of the soul and awakenings in our lives. It's not just one, because we do have phases in our lives. For example, I've been into spirituality my entire life. And I've gone through many, many phases and learned different things all around spirituality. I remember after my karmic ex, I decided to go to church and get help. So some might say that that was an awakening for me, but it wasn't on the level I felt with my twin flame. At the time, it was a cry for help, for the pain to be removed from me. But I still didn't feel the urge to become the best version of myself. I didn't put in the effort to become better, and my spiritual gifts were not heightened. I learned so much more in these last 11 months than I ever have in all the years I learned about meditation, Reiki, healing, and becoming a better person. It was like I used all of the tools I learned over the years and they suddenly got heightened, and I was able to understand everything on a deeper level. So, some other things with the karmic is that you trigger each other and you can mirror each other, like I said. You have a lot of similarities, but you bring out the absolute worst in each other. That's one of the biggest takeaways in knowing the difference between twin flames and karmics. Is that in a karmic dynamic, you bring out the absolute worst in one another. Instead of wanting to become better and having this urge to become the best version of yourself, you stay in a toxic cycle and usually in a victim mentality. Like, why is this happening to me? Why is my life not getting better? Life never seems to get better. You also never see the light in yourself. You lack a lot of self-love, have a lot of jealousy, insecurities, obsessive thoughts, and you're never really growing. You're basically stuck in your ego, and nothing really seems to be improving in your life. And that's because you keep repeating the same cycle and going down the wrong path. So, karmic is essentially going down the wrong path. Yes, it's there to teach you something, right? But when you keep going back to that karmic and bad things keep happening, it's because that person is not your twin flame. It's not always bad with a karmic, of course, because something good clearly keeps you there, right? You're probably there. If you keep going back, it's probably because you need to learn something. But you tend to bring out the worst in one another. And it becomes this toxic loop where you repeat the same things over and over and over again until you resolve it, until you learn your lesson. And you feel like things are getting better sometimes. And then all of a sudden, things go back to really bad again. This is actually why I always used to think that my husband and I were karmic, because we were always fighting about the same issues over and over and over again. Yet we had a lot of love for each other. But then I've come to find out and I realized that my husband and I are actually soulmates with karmic debt. So we had a lot of lessons that we had to learn. And once we resolved them, we were able to end our relationship peacefully and still be friends. All right. So I hope you understand that karmic, that stuff about karmic, but I'm going to go a little bit more into it. But right now I'm going to talk about twin flames. So here are some key factors about twin flames. So, like a soulmate, yes, you feel that sense of familiarity, like I said earlier. But with a twin flame, you tend to have that instant recognition normally when you see their eyes or when you hear their voice. But you will feel it in an instant, like your heart sinking to your stomach kind of feeling. It's a click for you. When I reconnected with my twin flame after 12 to 13 years of not talking to him, the moment I saw his photo, my heart literally sank. I'm not kidding. I was not expecting that because even years after seeing a photo of my ex, for example, the one that I was really in love with, I feel nothing at all. Nothing. In fact, I feel nothing when I see any of my exes because once I move on, I move on. I always knew when I see pictures of exes and if I feel nothing when I look at them, that's how I know that it's done. But when I saw my twin flames photo, and mind you, I hadn't seen him in 12 to 13 years, like I said, my heart felt like it sank and was pounding so hard at the same time. And I felt like it was going to explode. I didn't understand why I felt that way because we had never even dated or anything. I was just blown away. I was really, really drawn to him. And I couldn't understand why, but I felt so giddy. And here I was thinking, like, oh, I'm just going to see how he's been. It's been so long. I was not expecting that at all because I didn't feel that way when I saw him many years ago. I mean, I was attracted to him, but I didn't feel that instant recognition right away. You know what I mean? Like I was attracted to him, but it was completely different last year, 12 to 13 years later. So then I was surprised that he said he felt fireworks when he saw my photos too, because I was feeling the same way, but I didn't tell him that. I was trying to keep it cool. You know what I mean? So that's the instant recognition. And because of that recognition, you often speak with them as if you've known them your entire life. I like to call it word vomit. You feel so comfortable telling them things you've never told anyone. And after you say it, you almost feel embarrassed for being so open and vulnerable with someone that's practically a stranger in the 3D. You barely know anything about this person, yet you're acting as if you've known them your entire life. And that's because your soul knows them. So, this is so, so common. All of my clients are like, I don't know why I blurted out what I did. I don't know why I said so many things. We both spoke to one another, with one another, just blurting things out. My twin and I did the same thing. I told him stuff that like nobody knows day one. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, I haven't talked to you in 12 years. Why? And I was thinking, why am I talking to him like this? This is soul recognition. Now, with a twin flame, you're also very similar in a lot of ways. Your sense of humor, for example, is usually very similar. So you get each other's jokes, or the way you communicate could be extremely similar, because these are core foundations of who you are. And of course, it would be similar because you are them and they are you. You might have differences such as taste in food or taste in style, etc., but that's okay. Your primary core values and foundations will most likely be very, very similar because you guys are on the same frequency. You guys carry that same vibration, right? So that's why a lot of you will feel like, oh my God, we're so similar, yet we're polar opposites in other things, because those other things that you're polar opposites don't really matter, but you're very, very similar in the things that do. Okay, so there are times where twin flames have a massive age gap or come from different cultural or religious backgrounds, but that's how you were born and raised. I'm referring to how you are on a soul level. Like, what matters most to you in your heart is probably going to matter to your twin also. Another thing is, no one understands someone better than their twin flame. And this is why most relationships will fall apart if they meet their twin while already in a relationship, because they start to see that their current partner will never understand them or treat them like their twin flame. All right, so I want to talk about triggers, getting triggered, because a lot of people confuse karmic triggers and twin flame triggers, okay? So with twin flames, you suddenly get triggered, right? You notice this just before your dark night of the soul, you are getting triggered, but not intentionally by your twin flame. They don't point out your flaws like you and a karmic do with one another, but your traumas will come to surface. For me, it was my insecurities and lack of self love. I thought I had self love when we reconnected. But suddenly I became very insecure, even though he was constantly complimenting me and being very sweet and telling me I was perfect and this and that. But I didn't know why I would get really anxious, which, of course, as we all know, is very, very common on this journey because, like I said, the divine feminine tends to have that anxious attachment, and the divine masculine has an avoidant attachment. So my anxious attachment was coming up a lot, even though I didn't think I was like that anymore. I would try to keep it cool. I wouldn't I would try not to show it, but I was feeling it. I started getting panicky, but that was kind of part of my dark night of the soul and my awakening. As I felt him pulling away, my anxious attachment was kicking into high gear. And then that was what triggered me to go through dark night of the soul and my spiritual awakening. Then, shortly after, I suddenly had this urge. I needed to meditate. I needed to ground myself. I needed to get help. I went to seek therapy. I went to a spiritual healer, and I started meditating daily, and I became spiritually enlightened very, very quickly. And mind you, I didn't even know about twin flames at the time. Then I would go through the cycles of really improving myself, not on a physical level. I didn't even care about how I looked at the time. I mean, a little bit, but that was not my main focus, right? Like, most of the time when we have a breakup with a karmic or a soulmate, what happens? A lot of people are like, oh, I want to work out. I want to get my hair done. I want to be in the best shape of my life, right? Because you're trying to fix your outer appearance. You're trying to fix what you can really quickly, which is your appearance, right? But when it is a twin flame, you go within. You want to heal within. So I was just so focused on improving my mind and spirit that was all that mattered. But after that was taken care of, after I spent months on that, and I felt evolved and I felt enlightened, and I was doing so much healing, then I focused on my physical body, but not in an egoic way. I didn't care to show off my body. I wasn't needing validation anymore, posting as much on social media. All of who I was before was suddenly dissipating. I was leveling up tremendously very quickly. And yes, occasionally I would have my emotional moments, of course, but it was never ever to the level that I was before. So, like by 2 to 3 months after no contact, I was already improving immensely. Now I'm at 11 months since my dark night of the soul, and I feel like a completely different person. And yes, there's always going to be room for growth. I always say we grow and we learn until the day that we die on earth. Okay, until we leave our body. But that's the thing, is when it is a twin flame, you are always rising. You are always improving, and your spiritual gifts really, really enhance. When it is a karmic, you keep going back down. You keep going back down. You may improve a little bit, but you go back down. You are in a constant cycle of toxicity. You are not improving. Things are not improving in your dynamic, nor within yourself or your life. And you may feel like they are temporarily improving, but then they go right back down. I know a few people who think that they're in a twin flame dynamic, but it's just a toxic karmic cycle. Because karmics will make you feel like you are mirroring each other. And I've had a client confirm this for me. She said that there was a karmic that she thought was the one for her, just like I thought my karmic ex was the one for me. She thought they were mirroring one another and each other's shadows, like whenever she was good, he was good. Whenever she was bad, he was bad, things of that nature. However, things were never really getting better between them. Another big thing that I asked her was, do you ever feel like you see your twin's eyes in your eyes in the mirror? Because that was something that happened to me by about week 6 or 7 after no contact. I was seeing my twin's eyes in my eyes in the mirror, and it freaked me out. I have never had this experience with anyone else, and I thought, what the heck is happening to me? I was just staring at myself in the mirror like, what? Why am I seeing his eyes in my eyes? It was very, very strange. And then I remember I would pull my hair up into a ponytail, and suddenly I would see his face shape in the mirror. Like, it was really weird. Like, the outline of his face was within my face. And then I noticed it in my videos when I was recording that I look like him. Sometimes when I'm making videos, I feel like I'm looking at him. Even though I feel like we look nothing alike, yet I somehow see him within me. So when I asked my client about this, she told me that she had the same experience, that she never saw her karmic ex within herself at all. Although she did think that her and her ex looked very much alike, but she never saw his eyes within her eyes when looking in the mirror. But when she looks at herself, say on a video call or in a mirror, she feels like she's looking at her twin just like I do. And that's like my husband. We look a lot alike. We could probably pass to be brother and sister. I've heard this before a few times, actually. It's kind of creepy. We have a very similar face shape, nose, mouth, even body frames, but not our eyes. Our eyes are nothing alike. And I've never had that crazy phenomenon where I see his eyes in mine or his face in mine when looking in the mirror. Even though we look alike, I don't feel like, oh, I look like my husband, or I see his face in mine. Nothing. But it is very common for soulmates to look a lot alike. Something else I feel I should bring up is seeing number patterns and syncs with karmics or soulmates. Sometimes it's the universe testing you. Yes, you can see number patterns and syncs for other people. It's true, but nothing like your twin flame. Something I recommend you do is, if you are confused on whether it is a karmic or a twin because you're seeing different number patterns, I would ask your guides, your spirit guides of love and light, God, and your angels to assist you and to show you whether that person is truly your twin flame. And if they are, to show you a certain sign. Let's say, my client told me that they asked for the sign of red trucks and cardinals. And shortly after, he kept seeing cardinals and red trucks everywhere. So I recommend you always ask your spirit guides of love and light and your angels and God to show you certain signs if you are confused, whether, this is your twin flame or if you're gonna be with your twin flame. You can ask the universe anything, but you have to be careful when you do ask because you may get signs from guides that are not really your guides, right? Like they can be, who knows? You never know. They could be dark forces trying to play tricks with you, right? So always ask your spirit guides of love and light or of your highest good to show you signs if this person is truly your twin flame, and ask it to be shown within a certain time frame. And another thing is, after you meet your twin, no one else has your interest. I really have to bring this up. No one else has your interest or will have your interest. You may try. You literally have no desire to be with anybody else because no one else compares to your twin. You might try to date or sleep with somebody else because you feel lonely, but then you end up feeling sick or feeling bad. You end up feeling wrong as if you're cheating on your twin flame, even if you've never been intimate with them. So nobody will ever compare to your twin. I personally don't find anyone else attractive. It's so weird because I used to be so boy crazy. I might look at somebody now and sure, I'm not blind. I can see clearly when a person is attractive, but I feel no desire or passion for that person whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. Like since I met my twin, I don't feel that. It's the strangest thing. And I don't have that need for validation like I used to from men, or I don't even get turned on by men like I used to at all. Just my twin. It's strange, but very true. Something that a lot of people bring up on my one-on-one sessions is how they feel they've lived parallel lives with their twin flame. And yes, that can be very, very true. There's just so many different stories that people have shared with me, such as a family death around the same time or a marriage at the same time. A lot of twin flames end up getting married to their spouses at the same time. My twin flame and I actually got together with our spouses the same year. But this can also happen with soulmates. Another soulmate of mine started dating his partner the same exact month and year that I married my husband. And even weirder, both mine and my husband's maternal grandmothers passed away on the same exact date, but 29 years apart. And his paternal grandmother had her birthday on the same date as their death anniversary. Weird stuff. That's why I don't really look too much into the parallel stuff, because I believe that these are things we can find in common with many people. So try not to focus too much on that, but it is really cool when you can find those common experiences between you and your twin. You can move to a different country or a different location at the same time. These are very, very interesting things, but again, these things can also happen with friends, soulmates, etc. I feel like these are very huge, important factors, and I feel like you need to know them because so many people think that they are in a twin flame dynamic when it is really karmic. And it sucks because they've invested so much time and energy into this twin flame idea. And that's why sometimes the twin flame community can be toxic, because people become delusional and it feeds their ego. I have to be honest, people can become very delusional nowadays because of so much information being thrown out there. I see it in comments on other twin flame pages and some messages I get from people. They become obsessed and possessive. When it's a twin flame, yes, you get obsessive thoughts, but not in a possessive way. You love them unconditionally and you want them to be happy no matter what, even if it means not being with you. Someone messaged me this week and said she realized her twin flame was actually karmic. And I asked what happened, how she came to the realization of him being karmic and not a twin flame. She said it was just toxic and basically going nowhere, and that she was just addicted to him or the idea of him. She even stated she normally doesn't get attached easily to guys, but this guy made the biggest hole in her heart. When I asked how she was feeling towards him now, she said, just numb. No hate, no love, no wanting, nothing. Usually, this happens as a huge lesson that you need to love yourself first and foremost and not depend on anyone else for love. Another big thing I've seen is when people talk so negatively about their supposed twin flame. They call them idiots or losers or that they're toxic or narcissistic. Let me tell you right now, twin flames are not toxic at all. In fact, they actually tend to be very pure souls. And if you genuinely feel that that person is toxic, then they're not your twin flame. And you're probably trying to push the agenda of a twin flame onto somebody who's probably karmic. I've heard some people say such mean things about their counterpart or say that they want to block them. And I understand that sometimes these are just things that people need to heal within themselves. But this in itself is very toxic behavior. So if you feel this way about your actual twin flame, you should be looking within. I never, ever, ever once felt that way about my twin flame. And maybe this is just me. I don't know. But I know that a lot of my clients who I know for sure are twin flames have also never spoken this way about their twin flame. I know when my twin first ghosted me, I was angry. I'm not going to deny it. I was angry. I was hurt. I was upset. And a part of me wanted to call him out on it. But I chose not to. I couldn't, like, my soul wouldn't allow me to. That anger didn't last long because I knew deep down that that had to happen. I knew deep down that it was going to happen, and I knew deep down it had to happen for me to heal myself in that anxious attachment and that codependency. But I never once called him names or said he was toxic. I couldn't stay mad at him because I knew that the love was so strong, even though I couldn't explain why I loved him because I felt like I barely knew him, let's be honest. But I knew I just couldn't be mad because it felt wrong to my soul to be angry at him. It was like I just knew that, like I said, this had to happen for me to heal. Now, with the karmic, you can say very, very nasty things about them because that love is not unconditional. That love is very conditional. You want it to be reciprocated, and you become so angry when it's not. When you say such nasty things about your counterpart, like I said, it is most likely not a twin flame. I'm sorry. I just feel like if you were to say mean things to your counterpart and not feel sorry, that may actually be a karmic. Otherwise, you have a lot of healing to do. I have to be honest with you. And this is what I mean, where I said in the beginning of the episode that I would most likely trigger you. Because I know a lot of people are gonna be upset with this statement. Because they wholeheartedly think that they are in a twin flame relationship. But I've seen some twin flames and it is so toxic. So toxic. Where the divine feminine thinks that it's, that he's her divine masculine. And she thinks that it's something so real. And yet he doesn't feel the same way. He doesn't feel the same way. And I've confirmed this with a male counterpart where he just doesn't. But I feel like this can trigger a lot of people. And I know it will. I know it will. And that's okay. But I'm here to help you because I don't want you to stay in a vicious cycle where you're in a cycle of toxicity, and it doesn't mean that that person is bad. It's just that if these toxic cycles keep happening and you're not growing and your life is not evolving, it's most likely a karmic. Okay, so I want you to look within. And if this is happening, it's meant to teach you to learn self-love. Maybe step away from this person for a while. Maybe try to surrender. Anyway, these are some of the main differences between twin flames, karmics, and soulmates. And I hope this episode has helped you understand and can help you on this journey. Please remember, if you are unsure about what kind of journey you're on, ask God and your angels to keep assisting you. Pray about it. If you find yourself in a constant cycle of negativity and your life is not improving no matter how hard you try, then don't force something that isn't meant for you. Remember, what is meant to be will be, but always focus on you and the present moment. Let go of the rest. Let go of whatever isn't bringing you joy and real happiness, no matter how badly you might want it. Trust the process, like I always say. Trust the process and trust in divine timing. God bless.